prestigious club in the nation, the Maidstone, is off the narrow two-lane Montauk Highway in East Hampton. Grey Gardens, a hidden American treasure, is a few right turns away among towering trees. Like its lengthy history of fierce woman owners, the 6,652 square foot Lily Pond Lane and West End Road home defies. Grey Gardens' shingle-clad front, sage green shutters, diamond-cut arts and craft-style windows, and lush gardens may be familiar from the Maysles brothers' 1975 Filth and Raccoon Bone documentary. This may be your first national treasure visit. The deteriorating mansion almost fell beneath high society dropouts Big Edie and Little Edie Beale, aunt and cousin of Jacqueline Kennedy Onasis, and their 52 cats. Despite numerous tales, the house thrived at its worst. Beyond their grandeur, the mansion's walls teach life's ups and downs. Grey Gardens started as an Atlantic Ocean property before becoming a sentient Hollywood starlet in a luxury zip code. Grey Gardens was speculated before construction, but its cinematic premiere made it famous. F. bought 3 West End Road 2 years after 1895. Margaret Bagg Phillips and Stanhope Phillips hired Joseph Greenleaf Thorpe to build their ideal house. After land title complications delayed development, Mr. Phillips died suddenly, leaving his wife considerable fortune. Mrs. Phillips burned her husband's bones before an examination, sparking aristocratic New York City speculation. The 1901 New York Times said that Mr. Phillips' brothers accused her of exploiting her late husband for wealth. The court addressed the East Hampton property's land concerns, allowing her to construct the mansion in the early 1900s. It was sold to coal company president Robert C. Hill in 1913. Ms. Anna Gilman Hill, an accomplished gardener, rapidly turned their new vacation house into a lush haven. She surrounded the climbing rose, lavender, phlox, and delphinium garden with beautiful Spanish concrete walls. Grey Gardens had pastel dunes, cement walls, and sea mist. Big and Little Edie Beale, who made it famous, bought it from the Hills in 1923 after 10 years. Big Edie was born in 1895 to a rich judge and wife. Major John Vernou Bouvier Jr. upheld the French nobility mystique from Gilded Age pride. Big Edie's siblings were twin sisters Michelle and Maud Bouvier, big brother William Sargent Bouvier, who died of alcoholism in 1929, and small brother John Black Jack Vernou Bouvier III. Lasada, Onasis East Hampton home, and their Manhattan family house on the Carlisle Hotel site were their residences. Big Edie, a superb singer and pianist, was advised to marry. Big Edie, 22, married 36-year-old Felon Beale Sr., her father's legal partner, in 1917. The Beales moved into an Upper East Side apartment with a full crew, including chauffeurs, see their 1920s car in front of Grey Gardens. Born, Little Edie, 1917, Felon Beale Jr. 1920, Bouvier, 1922. Grey Gardens was bought in 1923, shortly after their youngest was born. Big Edie adored Grey Gardens' freedom. Her family spent most summers and weekends there. Big Edie's bohemian inclinations increased at Grey Gardens, embarrassing her husband. After parting in the early 1930s, Big Edie hired a chef, chauffeur, 2 housekeepers, and a governess, according to census statistics. Meanwhile, her family boarded Little Edie at Miss Porter's, the Connecticut finishing school her cousins Onasis and Radziwill attended. When she was 13 and attending Spence, a Manhattan girls' mid-1930s graduate, Edie debuted at the Pierre Hotel dinner with other wealthy young ladies. Edie was beautiful, intellectual, and loved reading, theater, and acting like her mother. She was scolded for these weaknesses and taught that her marriageability was her finest quality because she needed a mate to survive. In the 1940s, she visited her mother in East Hampton and Palm Beach from Manhattan. She likes us. The Interior Secretary's affair with Captain Julius Captain Krug. Big Edie struggled while Little Edie thrived. Felon Sr. divorced her by telegraph in 1946, giving her Grey Gardens ownership and child maintenance but no alimony. In 1940, her mother died. At her son's wedding, her father chastised her for dressing as an opera star. When Major John Vernou Bouvier Jr. died in 1948, his money had fallen, and Big Edie's twin sisters got most of his estate while her sons received a little. Grey Gardens personnel couldn't be paid on her $300 monthly budget for herself and Little Edie, now $4,500. This home would die. Early in the 1950s, Big Edie and pianist Gould Strong, who may have lived there in the 1940s, divorced up. Little Edie began her entertainment career in 1952 at the Barbizon Hotel in NYC. Because Big Edie couldn't support her, she missed the Broadway audition and returned to East Hampton. Each Edie perceived Grey Gardens as their paradise and an obstacle to their theatrical goals. Little Edie's father died in 1956, limiting their money, yet the mother-daughter duo mixed in East Hampton. At the Sea Spray Inn, one of their favorite old haunts, they met Tom Logan, a former rodeo cowboy they asked to live with them for chores. Despite his efforts, the gravel driveway was overgrown and had an abandoned automobile with a key in its ignition. Logan died of sickness or consumption on his kitchen cot in 1964, destroying the house. Even though little Edie attended JFK's inauguration, the Beales became more secretive and suspicious in the 1960s after Big Edie's arthritis and a party theft. 2 decades after little Edie retired to East Hampton, their grand piano was a broken antique and the main floor was covered with cat fur, cobwebs, and dust. Since the ladies went upstairs and sold products, the home seemed empty. Grey Gardens closed the decade with a peculiar mix of wealth and poverty. East Hampton invaded Grey Gardens in 1971 demanding safety. The Suffolk County Board of Health ordered the Beales to clean Grey Gardens or leave. Lee Radziwill's then-boyfriend, artist Peter Beard, alleged inspectors hosed the property, damaging it and scaring the residents. A neighbor told New York Magazine about these instances. Grey Gardens became renowned after publication. With Radziwill in Montauk throughout the attack, Onasis and her wealthy husband Aristotle repaired. Radziwill wanted her quirky aunt with her Long Island lockjaw and wonderful singing voice to narrate her Lasada youth documentary. She met Gimme Shelter director David and Al Maysles via Beard. Both Maysles brothers met Big and Little Edie at Grey Gardens and began filming. In the video, renovations included water and heat for 2 upstairs rooms, painting over old wallpaper, and bringing the property up to code for an inspection. The filmmakers spotted 3 stars home being the 3rd. Big and Little Edie were thrilled to provide Oscar-worthy performances when Radziwill's film was cancelled. That summer was released in 2018. Big and Little Edie relocated 2 twin beds to a warmer upstairs bedroom in 1973 for shooting. They cooked and did almost everything else on a bedside hotplate, which their cats ate. Big and Little Edie's campy depiction of their existence in this chamber and the magnificent environment around their rotting house is beautiful, hilarious, and heartbreaking. Grey Gardens passed inspection, but video shows worse conditions. The ladies spend most of their time at the estate alone, save for Brooks, a handyman, Jerry, a young errand boy and companion, and Lois Wright, a family friend and sometimes roommate. The verite documentary Grey Gardens started reality TV. Honest, voyeuristic, intrusive minimalist film without music, narrator, reenactments, or interviews. The home becomes a character as the camera observes the women's unprompted lives, symbolizing their status as high society rebels who reject patriarchal rule. Many followers question why celebrities chose this lifestyle aside quirkiness since they are scrutinized. While black mold and toxoplasmosis may explain them, we'll never know what brought promising young women to such unexpected situations. We may rethink labeling them abnormal. Life persisted for a few years after Grey Gardens lost its shine. Wright and the Beales fed the cats to keep the rodents away and Buster, the head honcho raccoon, who they believed wouldn't revolt if fed well. He saw Big Edie and Little Edie in Manhattan news conferences. Massive leg injury from Big Edie's 1977 fall was untreated. One book by Wright said, Grey Gardens deteriorated. The home was ill. It seemed disturbed. Old homes vibe. Big Edie refused hospitalization and died of pneumonia at 82. Little Edie worked in Manhattan and had her own cabaret act until she went to California, Canada, then Bal Harbor, Florida, where she died aged 84 in 2002. Grey Gardens excels. Imaginative people may see its beauty in decay. Despite the real estate agent's reluctance, Washington Post journalist Sally Quinn and her husband, Ben Bradley, investigated the ruins in 1979. Quinn went in alone on a hot August day since Bradley was allergic to animals and perished in minutes. 52 dead wild cats were found. No, not exactly. Cats were crawling all over, and there were raccoon skulls on the front porch, she tells House Beautiful. Edie was standing on the front porch waiting for me, he says, with a sweater wrapped around her waist as a skirt, a scarf on her head, probably because of the fleas, and masses of red lipstick smeared around her face, when she said, "Welcome to Grey Gardens," as though it was some fabulous palace. As they arrived, Little Edie pirouetted and murmured, "All it needs is another deal." I told Little Edie she could leave it broom clean or leave all the furniture and everything in it, Quinn remembers. Little Edie picked the latter, and Quinn discovered antiques heaped to the ceiling in the attic and the tiny former maid's room behind the so-called kitchen. Quinn resumed smoking with excitement. Quinn persevered despite relatives and friends preparing an intervention. Contractor, pull it down. Quinn invited everyone to join the year-long endeavor. She restored old iron beds and clawfoot bathtubs and recreated what couldn't be mended to fit the period, such the curtains in the living room were still hanging but were in shreds, so I took the fabric to a decorator to match them. In summer 2015, Liz Lang, a notable early-aughts maternity wear designer and FIG creative director, leased the mansion and began the Just Enough Family, a podcast about her family with writer Ariel Levy. Quinn sold it for $15 million. Lang informed the New York Times that the Beales relics include a garden plot proclaiming Spot Bale, a nobler gentleman never lived, cherished by everyone who knew him, died May 29, 1942. Adler's colorful wasp chintzy design includes turquoise shutter paint, blue leopard print wallpaper, and a rattan couch with Kelly green pillows. Lang, her college best friend Jonathan Adler, interior designer Mark D. Sykes, and landscape designer Deborah Nevins renovated the house and yard. Lang told Home Beautiful the home is being restored, not renovated. We tried really hard to be very, very respectful of the fact that it is an over 100-year-old house, and we weren't trying to make it look like a new house, she says. Lang rescued moldings, doors, and windows before starting the renovation, and her contractors replaced what they couldn't restore with comparable parts to make the house seem as the Beales bought it. We utilized restoration glass instead of new windows. Early 1900s language. Langley. The house's detailed documentation allowed the crew to duplicate the building as closely as feasible. Lang updated the front porch columns for the early 1900s. The diamond lattice windows were bigger when Lang acquired it. Even the upgrades to make the home more comfortable for her family enhanced the house's and garden's attractiveness. Lang added French doors to solid walls on the main level for movement and an almost unbroken view of the gardens. I'm continuously in the desire for something new, Lang adds, but she won't reconstruct additional rooms. Living room textiles are brown, white, and pastel blue. Lang enjoys her home, gardening, and history today.